With Pokemon being a success for over 20 years, it seemed like there needed to be another competition set for the world-renowned child demographic series. It was Digimon, but no one cares about Digimon. So, hello everybody, Tyron the God 3 here, and today we'll be discussing Yokai Watch. And here with me today is TSS
Hello there.
and KG Prestige.
Yo.
And what we're going to talk about today is basically Yokai Watch is a series that's been going on for quite a while in Japan, and we got introduced to it here in the US where it got the dub license and was able to get dubbed at least for the first season, and was confirmed to for a second season, which is coming I believe August 1st.
Yep.
That is right.
All right, so with that said, I wanted to talk a little bit about Yokai Watch, at least from all of our perspective. We all got introduced to the Yokai Watch series in different ways, some via the video games, some via the animated series. So, real briefly, I just want to go over and ask the two guests here what was their first impressions and introduction into the Yokai Watch franchise, the phenomenon that's been hitting, because Yokai Watch has actually become pretty popular, not just in Japan, but has even found its way in like Hot Topic and Spencer's and areas like that in the US area. So we'll start off with you, TSS, and then we'll move on to KG, and then I'll state my introduction. So TSS, how'd you get into Yokai?
Well, it was actually quite by accident because, I was watching other series because, of course, I follow, just some of the mainstream series. And I'm wondering to myself, a certain series was becoming a little bit, drab and repetitive. So, I was just searching around and apparently I was looking at, this new series that was starting. It was January 2014. It was called Yokai Watch. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, all right. I wasn't having too high of expectations with it. I said, okay, hey, it's another kids anime. Let's see what's going on here. And then it only took about maybe 10 minutes of the first episode to tell me that, wow, this is so refreshing. This is such a great concept. I got to keep watching this. And we're already up, in Japan now. We're up to episode 124, and three major games later, it looks like, it's a much marketed improvement. In comparison, you have to compare apples to apples here, because the series that we're also all familiar with, it was more of a serious tone. This is more of a comedy, but the way that the comedic humor in this series is just off the wall. Some of the most random stuff I've ever seen in my life, and a lot of AMV-worthy stuff, which, I have made in the past as well. But yeah, I had very high expectations. I had high expectations going into the dub because here's the thing. I saw maybe a few clips of the dub, before it hit the airwaves, and it was really good, because we're all used to like horrible dubs these days, as everybody knows. And after seeing a few episodes of the English dub here, and even after talking to Mr. David H. Steinberg, we had that interview last year. They really know what they're doing. They're really taking the dub of Yokai Watch very seriously and in the right direction. And I can't wait for season 2. So that is my story. And plus, I've played through Yokai Watch 1, the English game, and I'm already about 8 hours into Yokai Watch 2, Ganso, which is the Japanese version. We'll get into that in a few. We'll get to that in a few minutes. But that's and I plan to get Yokai Watch 3. I'm planning to import it in August. So I'm very excited of what Yokai is going to. What Yokai is going to bring in the future, as well as Yokai Watch 2, which comes out September 30th.
Okay, so with that said, that's a pretty good start. And KG, how were you introduced to the Yokai series?
That's actually very funny. I honestly remember it because it honestly was a very weird introduction to the series. A while ago, we had a conversation going on Skype with everybody, and I believe it was you, TSS, that posted an image of Nate with a magazine, And in that magazine, we actually had a picture of what looked like to be a ripoff of Ash, and that was like the moment where I was interested to see just how that all happened, and I was like, okay, I need an anime to go watch, so let me go and give Yokai Watch a shot. TSS has been saying like it's such a good one, it's a refreshing series to go and just take a watch, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go give this series a run through and see how it all turns out. And overall, I was very happy with the results of Yokai Watch and the anime series because it really was refreshing. In terms of comedy, it's doing really well. It's not meant to be taken as a super serious type of anime like, other animes out there, but this anime felt really refreshing. It knows what it is. It knows what it's doing. It knows that it's meant for comedy, and it plays with that, and it does it so well. Like, I love many episodes within the series, especially later down the road, which I don't want to talk about because we haven't actually hit that in the dub yet, where they actually make fun of some episodes that have aired in season 1. So that's just to show you how much they really taken comedy into consideration when just going within the series of Yokai Watch. And ever since then, I have had such a wonderful time watching the series. I enjoy the opening songs, the ending songs, the characters, and I cannot wait to see more of it as we progress on. And as TSS said, we're going to be getting the sequels to Yokai Watch in this year, in September 30th, which I was surprised with. In regards to two things. One, it's actually coming out this year. I thought initially it might have taken a little longer. Like, I thought it would have been like a next year type of summer release, not one that was going to literally release like less than a year later. I believe Yokai Watch. When did Yokai Watch release the first one? November, wasn't it, or something like that? Or
Yeah,
October?
yeah. The localized one was released in November. I was actually believe it was November 6th because I was in Florida at the time and I couldn't go to the Nintendo New York, the Nintendo World launch at that time.
Yeah, so
So
it's literally like 10 months then since they
yes,
last released the first game. And this time they're releasing it as a doubles. And I'm interested to see how that's going to play out. I'm going to try my best not to get myself informed in regards to what makes each version different so I can try to play one version and see if maybe that will get me interested to
yeah.
purchase the second one. So, but overall, the one thing I'm really excited for, I don't know if it's been confirmed yet, but I hope they do a remix of Geta Geta Po like they've done for the Japanese original games, because both versions have their own separate opening, but remixed of Geta Geta Po. So I hope that in the English dub we actually get the same type of feel as well. I have faith in them.
Yeah, I think though that they probably are going to use two different openings. I'm really hoping that they do keep it that way because that Swampy Marsh rap thing was not good. It was very monotone. I mean, I can understand why they switched it later on in the dub. And actually, for the European airings, it's just the second opening, which is that basically the Yokai Watch rap translated into different languages. We'll get to that in a few minutes, but I'm hoping that they will have two separate openings and they'll keep the same melody and everything because that's iconic. I mean, come on, "Geta Geta Po" is the catchphrase, the international catchphrase of Yokai Watch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It basically, it's kind of like the original Pokemon opening for Japan. This is pretty much as iconic as that when it comes to
Yes.
specifically talking about that said series,
Yes.
So I hope they do it this way as well. I mean, if you remember back then when they initially released the supposed opening of Yokai Watch, people weren't exactly happy with it. And when we actually got the English version of Geta Geta Po, people were completely happy. They were excited and
I
shocked
love
as
that
well.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember some reactions of some Japanese people when I went to Comic-Con that said that they said, "Oh wow, Geta Po."
Yeah, that's how strong this opening is. It's some song that manages to connect with everyone from around the world, and that's amazing to do with just one simple song, And I'm really curious. I really hope that they actually do the opening of Geta Geta Po, except remixed twice for each separate version. But yeah, that's my overall thoughts on what I think of Yokai Watch. It was brought up to my attention from a simple image that caught my eyes, and now I enjoy the series for what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, similar to your way, TS actually posted a lot of Yokai Watch stuff before a lot of us even got into Yokai Watch. And it was catching my attention several times. And while that was happening, I got curious. I was like, well, this looks interesting. And then it wasn't until John had posted his Yokai Watch versus Pokemon video that I finally was like, you know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and give Yokai Watch a look-see, because there's no denying it. It's different than Pokemon, obviously. It's different. There's no denying it, but at the exact same time, I can see where the comparisons start to come in. I mean, when you have a show that involves hundreds of creatures with bizarre powers, and it's animated, your eyes are automatically going to lock on to Pokemon, because Pokemon's kind of the I guess you could say, the foster child for that sort of demographic. I mean, Digimon's done it before that, and hell, even the Tamagotchis to some extent has covered that field. But I think it's because of the fact that Pokemon's such a cash cow that anything that looks similar to it automatically is hidden under Pokemon's shadow. So I believe that Yokai Watch had an unfair disadvantage. Well, all disadvantages are unfair, but yeah, it had a disadvantage against Pokemon coming from the get-go. But then I actually took the time to look at the animated series, which I went into it at a good time because there was quite a bit of episodes that were already dubbed and put on YouTube. And I gotta say, like KG said, that Get a Pole theme is jammed in my head. I can't go anywhere without humming the theme in my head. I've been singing the rap, and yeah, it's definitely an addicted catchphrase opening. And it's also a really good series because, well, when I went into this dubbed, I went into it under the insane impressions that how Pokemon would handle it. And not just because it's Pokemon, because it's a child series. It's targeted towards a child demographic. This is surprisingly adult humor used in Yokai Watch in some circumstances. So I was actually pretty thrown off guard when they did some of the jokes, or when they went sort of down darker paths. I guess one of the examples I could use, and this is from season 1, I think it's from the first episode, so if you haven't watched it by now, then I'm sorry, but Jibanyan ends up getting hit by a car, and for a series like that, that's kind of dark to see any creature get hit by a car. So I was like, Jesus Christ, this is not what I'm going into expecting. So yeah, I never got into the games. I played the demo, and then I also played the actual game because my friend owns it. I may try to get into it again, but for now, the game got really messed up and confusing for me. If I take the time to sit down and buy it, I may end up getting into it. But for now, the animated series is doing more than enough to keep me involved in the yokai, because yeah, it's got an interesting concept. I mean, I know what yokai were before the show was in my thought process. Yokai are basically translate to ghost, right?
Yeah, they're like mythical creatures.
It vaguely translates to spiritual being ghosts, which in the looking in the outside in is a really good idea. And when we get further into talking about the animated series, I'll go over that even more. So yeah, with that said, I guess that should be a good segue to move on to our next topic, which is the impressions. We all watched the Yokai Watch series. I know you guys have watched it all the way through the Japan version. I am restricted to the dub, and that's only because I just really like the dub. I like the dub so much to the point where I can't really imagine Nate or any of the other characters sounding sounds in their Japanese voices. Will I watch the Japanese version? Maybe. But for now, I think the dub's doing just enough to keep me invested. So we'll start with you this time, KG. What was your impressions of the animated series, or at least how much you've watched so far, or at least up to season 1, since we're talking about the up to date?
Yeah, I'm gonna just talk about season 1 because I really don't want to spoil anything in regards to future events that are going to be happening within season 2, because that's about 50 episodes, and that's not including season 3. So first of all, I'm excited for season 2. Like, I cannot wait for the grand debut of one specific character that I've mentioned many, many times on Twitter. I think everybody already knows who it is. It's goddamn Steve Jaws, man. Steve Jaws hype is so real for me. I love this character, and I don't know why, but I do. And I'm so excited.
It's the name.
Yeah, it's the name. It's Steve Jaws, man. I love this character, and I cannot wait to see him in season 2, especially because he actually is part of the story, and you'll understand it as it progresses on within episode 1 of season 2. But to get back into season 1, I have to say, in terms of the dub, I'm going to talk about the dub because since we're talking a little bit about the dub, they've done a really well done job in regards to the characters, the dialogue, and as I've mentioned and discussed about this with TSS before, some of the comedy jokes that we would have thought would never be translated into English, would have turned out right. Like, we initially thought that some of the comedy wouldn't work as well, and they somehow managed to actually do that. Like, there was a joke in regards to a toilet within the dub that I didn't think it would actually be translated as well in dub format. So when it actually did work, I was surprised and was very happy to see that they've tried to keep as true as they can to that of the original version without really trying to change the story or the plot or anything of that sort. So I'm very happy when it comes to that with the dub, as well as the music. The music has been consistent as well. I don't believe there has been any dub changes when it comes to the music. I'm not exactly sure. Okay, well, there we go. Confirmation right there. So, yeah, that's another thing. I always enjoy the music, and I'm very happy that they've kept the music as it's supposed to be in its original format. That is another high point in my thoughts on this. So, overall, Yokai Watch Season 1, the anime dub, I'm pleasantly happy with. I thought I was not going to enjoy it as much, but when we got into episode 1 of the dub, and as it progressed on, I've actually grown attached to it, and as I mentioned with TSS before, this is one of the few dubs that really is done well. It's something that I think people could enjoy, and if people decide to give it a shot, I think people could have a fun time with it, Think of it as a series on its own instead of trying to compare it to something else. And if you do that, I think you'll have a fun time watching Yokai Watch. But that's pretty much my impressions on it. Overall, satisfied with the result of the dub series. And I cannot wait for season 2 because Steve Jaws, man. Steve goddamn Jaws. Right. The hype is so real. So that's my thoughts on that.
All right, so TSS, your impressions of season 1?
Sure, absolutely. Going into the dub, I wasn't, we were always used to kind of like the mediocre jobs that American dubbing companies would do, and I'm not just talking about the one company. I'm talking about other companies as well in the last 20 years. But when I was watching like the first couple of episodes, I said, wow, this is really something. This is really entertaining. It's kind of like the Doraemon dub. Even though they're different companies, because Level 5 and I think it was Dense Entertainment are dubbing this, and I'm really liking the writing. David H. David H. Steinberg and his wife do a great job in basically localizing the script and writing the jokes and everything. And a lot of the joke references, like for example, the reference to like 1980s and DeLoreans, and I was like, oh my god, that was just crazy, because the episode with Spemp, and we actually talked with David Steinberg about this, and it was kind of really funny, how the jokes progressed and
how some jokes couldn't have translated as well. There were some that took some time.
There was one episode 3 with Manjimut. They actually had to cut about 15 seconds because they had an untranslatable pun. And also in the first episode as well, there's a joke about sheep. and they had to cut that too. So that was cut in the English the English and European dubs. It was actually kept in. It was actually kept in for the Hindi dub, as far as I remember. But there's like some, and then also the the Asian English version, which is the Southeast Asia version. They also kept that, and we'll get to that. We'll get to more edits in just a little bit. But also, as KG mentioned, the music. The reason why the music hasn't changed here is because Level 5 owns the music, so therefore they don't have to pay for licensing because they already own the music.
Which is such a good thing, man.
Yeah, because we all used to, random people off the street, homeless people writing music for other dubs, but we're not going to talk about that. But yeah, basically, I was really impressed on how the English dub handled the first 26 episodes, and I look forward to season 2. 50 episodes. Wow, that's going to be some crazy stuff. It's going to be a crazy year. And especially since it's starting so early. It's starting August the 1st. I thought it was going to start like end of August. But
and also, I thought it was going to be fewer episodes. I didn't think it was going to be 50 episodes. I'm like, geez, might as well include the movie.
I thought it was going to be like 26 or 30.
Now,
but they said 50, so that means that we're going to be right on the cusp of the next major story arc, which leads into the Yokai Watch 3. So I'm really excited.
Now we're doing. I've done the math and I thought about it. 50 episodes translate to about. If we're doing it weekly, it translates to about 1 year, right?
Roughly a year, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
About 1 year. So that's a whole year of just new yokai episodes, basically.
And there might be a point where they could just specifically have a week
do a
dedicated.
5-way run, yeah.
Yeah, they've done this before.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we're probably looking at more than
Yeah, we're
quite
gonna
a bit
have
of
a lot of
yokai.
yokai. There's yokai here, yokai there, yokai everywhere, man. It's gonna be great.
Yokai in taters in Idaho.
Oh my god! But yeah, like it still surprises me. Like, how did they manage to get 50 episodes this fast? We just finished the dub a while ago, and yeah,
we have to actually ask David H. Steinberg again.
Yeah, maybe literally after production came to a closure within season 1, he just went straight on to season 2. But maybe we can ask him later when the second season, of course, starts and a couple of episodes pass by. But for now,
absolutely.
Right now, I gotta say, if you guys, the staff, can keep up the same level of just amazingness as you did with season 1, I think season 2 is just gonna blow everyone's expectations, because season 1 did a great job. Season 2 definitely has a lot more characters included because, of course, new yokai and whatnot, and that in itself could lead to some really fantastic moments. And
also there's all the side story stuff too.
Exactly, with Koma-san, with there's just a lot. I don't want to say a lot of them because those are stuff that you guys should view yourself, and when you get to those moments, oh my god, they're so amazing. But yeah, that's overall, like I mentioned before, to the staff, people who are working in regards to the dub of Yokai Watch here in the US, keep up that consistency like you did with season 1, and if you do, I'm gonna be so happy with season 2, man. I'm gonna love it so much. Like, geez, man, I'm so excited for it, and we're just like a month away from it, a month and a half, I guess we could say.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay.
So, my impressions. I went into Yokai Watch just straight up going on YouTube. I went in at a really good time. I think they had when I started watching, they already had like 20 episodes dubbed already. So I watched the first one to see how things would go, and I went into Yokai Watch on skeptical notes because I'm not sure exactly. When I first watched Yokai, or even when I heard about it, when I went to go check up on information on it, the yokai themselves to me looked very odd. Some of them, they had really cool designs, but I think like Jibanyan was the only one I looked at and was like, okay, this thing looks marketable, and which is why he's the mascot. But then I looked at the other yokai that it was like some of them have like drool coming out of their mouths. I'm just like, ugh. So then I went into it, and amazingly, what I found out when watching yokai, at least from the dub version, maybe this is also true for the Japanese version, the yokai that look the weirdest usually wind up with the personalities, traits, and running jokes that work so well, you look past that. Like, I know there's a yokai called, damn, what's this thing called? It's in the first episode. She's like purple and she looks like a giant. Yeah. She looks like Muck.
Dismeralda.
Yeah,
Dismeralda or Doyuninu in the Japanese.
I hated Dismeralda at first impressions of her. But then, like, she's just this depressing thing, and she's like, no filter, whatever. I'm just like, you know what? Not bad, Dismeralda. Not bad.
You can't forget her husband, Happy Air, though.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and the fact that she's married to, like, this happy, giant, floating fog. I'm just like, not bad, Dismeralda. Not bad. And so, yeah, there's a lot of, like, personality traits that come out of these yokai that make me, like, really like them. And when I watched the series, I was expecting, a huge concrete plot involving all of these yokai, when in fact I got some of that. And what I mean by that is Yokai Watch actually follows something I like to call the card captor syndrome. Long time ago, for those of y'all who grew up in the 90s, the Card Captors was one of the early anime that we got dubs for, along with Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, and several others. And the formula for Card Captors usually went as follows. Sakura would end up noticing that something strange happens going throughout the town. She finds out what spirit is causing that calamity, fights the spirit using one of her spirits, and then that spirit ends up getting defeated and befriends Sakura so she can use for the next episode over. Yokai follows this exact same formula. Well, almost this exact same formula. So when they had an episodic plot like that, I was a bit skeptical at first because I'm thinking, well, this is going to get old fast. No, the comedy and personalities of each of these characters work in a way that makes it useful.
Yeah.
And it also works in a way to where there's never a dull moment in between these episodes, because the episode itself isn't an entire episode of just dealing with the conflict. Half of that episode deals with that conflict, and then immediately they go to the second half of the episode, or a small Koma-san or Meiji Month segment, which will break the air a little bit so that you can have room to breathe for the next half, which is a very well set formula based on what Yokai Watch's plot, air quotes, is.
The plot is real.
Plot.
I do want to say, though, when it comes to the characters, I personally am very happy with how they're designed, because I think the person who was responsible for Yokai Watch actually talked a little bit about it over at E3 when they actually had the Yokai Watch 2. Yeah, and he talked about how he specifically designed each individual, yokai and how it works. And when you actually hear his reasoning behind it all, it makes more sense and makes you just enjoy a lot of these characters even more than what you already did beforehand,
I think, though, that the yokai have more character. Like, each one of the yokai have more unique traits and personalities about them, because if you go to the other monster collecting games, you kind of don't have the same dynamic differences between each species. So you have, you have see, brain is going crazy. So you have like Koma-san, who's like this traveling country bumpkin. You have Jibanyan, which is the quintessential cat yokai that gets hit by cars and everything. And then you have oh my god. Then you have things like Happy Air,
Happy Air, Dismeralda,
Baku,
Gramps,
Kappa.
Yeah, Kappa.
Who's that one? Kappa. I'm trying to remember. Who's that? Whatever his name was. What's that? There we go. What's that? There.
What's that? Yeah. You see, you caught yourself there.
I was gonna say I really like the names to some of these yokai too, because they make sense for what they are. So
Yeah.
Yeah, in 4 and
Hyderabad. Hyderabad is my favorite character, and I cannot wait for him in season 2.
Yeah, Hyderabad. They really made a the dub voice for that is great.
Yeah, and in the second season, he's gonna have a little bit more of an active role, I hope.
I think one of the things to really look at in yokai, and when it comes to the yokai themselves, is their names too. Because with Pokemon, there is a bit of straining that you have to do in order to learn who their names are, which isn't bad. I like when I have to solve the puzzle of Charmander is called that because Char equals charcoal, and then Mander is salamander. But then in yokai, there's some simple names like Wazat. It's like it literally is just his name because
Ilu.
Yeah, which is illusion. Like, you don't have to strain as hard for some of these, but at the exact same time, they're not unoriginal to the point where it's just called forget.
Right, and the other thing is sometimes, as you heard, I kind of have things like cut and cheese and all that other things.
Fit you fine.
Yeah. The reason why I have like gaps of lapse of memory is that I mostly watch the Japanese version. I know the Japanese names, and it's trying to be difficult to remember what the English names are.
Oh, okay.
And it's like, yeah, you kind of get used to the stuff. I mean, in Japanese you have Fubuki Hime, which is Blizzaria. And it's like, you kind of have you kind of get in
Telltale,
yeah, and that's Bakaroba.
Yeah, and then you have like Merayan and like was Blazion.
Merayan, yeah.
And
Blazion was actually good. Blazion was actually a great name. And some of the foreign dubs is very interesting too. Oh my goodness! I mean, some of the ones you got to watch, like the Spanish one. It's like some of the names in there. Oh my god!
I'm curious.
And we're actually gonna get to talking about right now. Actually, since we're on that subject, let's go and talk about the first season. And reason why I want to do that is I have amassed a good majority of season 1 from other countries, and I would actually like to talk about them.
Yeah, now, what TSS is referencing. Okay, so the next half of the discussion is we're doing a little bit of a breakdown of season 1. Highlight moments, important things to know when going into season 1, or important things to know if you've already watched season 1. So with that said, TSS, go ahead. Okay,
so as of right now, I believe starting in like April, the foreign European dubs have started to air. There are exceptions, like for example, Southeast Asia actually got it before America, and they have a completely different English dub than we do. And I'm trying to get my hands on some of the episodes there. I've seen about maybe 8 minutes of the first episode, and it looked completely different than what Dense Entertainment actually dubbed over here. Then there's the Hindi dub, which also sounded very interesting. I'm not gonna turn this into something bad, but don't worry about it. So let's go to the ones that I actually did watch a good amount, and I've watched 3 dubs, and I've skimmed over some episodes. I've actually, since I don't know the languages, it doesn't matter, but I can tell where the things are edited. So I have seen the Spanish dub, I have seen the French dub, and I've seen the German dub. And there's a couple things to note. The French and the Spanish versions air on Boing, which in their respective countries. And what I've actually noticed is that their dubs are actually even more censored than here. Oh. Here we've had cuts. Yeah, we've had cuts here, but over in Spain and over in France, they've cut out like every reference to either gambling or sexual innuendo or anything like that. I'll give you a good example. The episode with the episode where Nate, Eddie, and Bear stay up, like the sleepover. They've cut out actually a lot of footage. Now, originally in the English dub, what they did was they edited the Next Harmony things. They first edited the pictures on the screen. And the Japanese version originally, when the channel changed, when the channel changed, it went to like this kind of like muscular guy exercise show, and the dub actually had the cook like a still image of a cook instead of the full motion animation. So that was kind of a weird edit. But in the French and the Spanish versions, they completely edited out really badly the Next Hermione scenes. It's like you would see the TV turn off, and then you would just see a hard cut to the TV on, the glow of the TV in their faces.
Huh.
And there was actually a reference where Jibanyan was like gushing over Next Hermione, and that was completely removed in the French and the Spanish dub. And there was other things like the Spemp episode where they had the pan over to the women and the tall buildings and the cars and everything. That kind of like the flashback, to cut that out too. There are lots of cuts that are really weird, but I guess how they view the children's. I guess the children's standard is more strict than other European nations, because in the German dub they don't do that. So the German dub is actually the same right. cut as the English dub.
Right.
But basically, overall, I mean, some of the voices in the foreign dubs sound very weird. Like, you've probably seen this on my Twitter. German Jibanyan is funny. It's like, it sounds like a very interested man and things like that. It's like the voice is by a male and not a female. And the Spanish Jibanyan sounds a little bit too girly, in my opinion. The French one doesn't sound too bad. But the German one, oh my God, that's crazy stuff. Crazy. Like some of the voices. And also Spanish Koma-san sounds funny. KG's got to watch that.
Yeah, I gotta go give that a watch before I can give my opinion today.
Because it's so funny. But overall, for the first 26 episodes, we get introduced to Yokai Watch, and we have a few of the few of the plot points, because basically they're stalling for time until Yokai Watch 2 came out, because at that point in Japan the first game came out like 6 months before the anime was released, 6-7 months. So they were killing time until Yokai Watch 2 came out, which was in the middle of 2014. So they had to introduce everybody to characters going based off of the manga, because there is a manga too, by the way, and it's great. It's funny. And then I think it was like episode 25, we see the No-Sirs, or 24, we get to see the No-Sirs, which are actually in the second game. So that was kind of cool. And that's why you have the
yeah.
Yeah. Put it in the wrong way.
I think there's a toy. Yeah, I think there's a toy that does that, where if you put the yokai metal in upside down or
yes, the original watch does it. Yeah. Yes.
Wow, that's nice detail in regards to that type of stuff. Those things would normally be ignored, but to actually see that they implemented that to the actual device is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah,
never knew that till now. So yeah, I gotta say, when it comes, I'm interested now to hear the other versions of the dub now, especially the Spanish one, just because of how you've been mentioning it here. Jeez, I need to hear all the Spanish yokai now all of a sudden. Wonder how they sound.
Yeah, and also what's also interesting, before I let KG go here, on his take. Surprisingly, the majority of they do edit all the signage to their language. So they actually go the step further and edit like all of the signage to their language.
Uh-huh.
Oh wow! In each individual dub, like so, the Spanish dub has
Yes,
its own.
yes, and the French one and the German one, they have their own signage.
Huh.
Oh, okay, that's actually really cool. Then I have to give him props to more, put more effort to making each version feel much more natural for each culture out there, for Spanish and
Mm-hmm.
for French and all that. So that's pretty
Right.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess it's my turn then to go give my little
Yes.
impressions on the
Yeah,
season.
season one breakdowns or things you've noticed or things like that. Just season one insights.
Okay, so when it comes to just season one, I want to say there was a main reason why I've wanted to see season one a lot, and I've been patiently waiting week after week after week, and I think everybody knows what I was talking about back then. It was there was a yokai in particular who is really interesting in terms of its character, QB. And
I
I was curious in regards to how they were going to change the whole joke with the cucumber or whatever it was. And
Yes.
they managed to actually work it out, which caught my eye the most. Like I didn't think they were going to find a joke that would work in the dub. Like to me personally, the thing that I was excited for the most when going into the dub was some of the translations for some of the jokes. And to see that they've managed to not with every single one of them, of course, because that's downright impossible. Like TSS mentioned before with the sheep, it's kind of hard to do stuff like this, and with the Meijin month section, it's impossible to do as well because it doesn't exactly fit so well with the English writing and whatnot. But to the ones that did work, I wouldn't have thought about that at all, which I have to give praise to David and his wife for managing to think of these type of jokes and managing to get them to work in Yokai Watch Season 1, which makes me more excited to see some more translations come out for Season 2. So, like I told you before with QB and the cucumber joke, I love that one. The toilet joke that was, I think, I forgot what episode it was, but it was basically, I think it was with, who was the one with, who's the one that had that? I think it was Tattletale one. I don't recall.
Tattletale.
Okay.
Tattletale.
Oh yeah. So in that episode, and then like Whisper had like this whole indubitably kind of joke to go and fit with the toilet humor, and I was pretty pleasant with that. Then we had other ones as well, not necessarily like major changes, but stuff I just wanted to mention. The best episode to me personally when it comes to Yokai Watch still has to be the Valentine's episode because there was
Yes.
a moment where like one of Nate's friends actually ended up going with a girl, and Whisper was pretty happy to see that, and then he goes and asks Nate, what do you think about this? Are you happy for your friend there? And what turns out is that Nate is on the floor, transparent, mind you, and all basically knocked out. And I was really curious how they were also going to translate that in the dub as well, and they did a phenomenal job with it. The voice acting, which is something that I do want to mention, a lot of the cast that we got here for Yokai Watch are some pretty great actors, and I think a lot of people know them. There's a Johnny Young Bosk, I think that's how you pronounce his name.
Bosch.
Bosch.
Yeah, Bosch.
Yeah.
So that's one of them, for example. There's a lot of great ones there for Yokai Watch, and if you're a
Brett
big
Prenderglass.
yeah, I'm trying to remember who was the one that did what was her name again?
There's Allison.
What?
I think we're talking. Well, Nate. Nate was Johnny Wong Bosch.
Yeah. I was thinking about the female. What was her name again?
Katie.
Katie. Yeah.
Katie, yeah.
I was trying to remember her voice actress that.
Actress.
Yeah, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I have to try to see if I can figure that
Yeah.
out. But overall, like you get the idea where I'm going at. They do a really great
Yeah.
job playing their characters in the series, and I am very happy with that as a whole. And I cannot wait for more of them to come within Yokai Watch Season 2. And I'm also kind of surprised or kind of curious what voice actors are going to play what yokai for some of the future ones that we're going to be seeing later down the road. I'm curious who's going to be voicing Steve Jaws. I'm curious who's going to be voicing some other yokai that I don't want to mention. Especially there's one in particular that I'm really, really curious about. And like I told you, I don't want to talk about it here, but you'll get to it when that time comes, of course. But so far, to me, when it comes to breaking down Yokai Watch Season 1, there's not really much to break down in terms of the joke side of things. I'm just pleasantly happy that they managed to get it to work in English dub format. So that in itself, I give them props. So yeah.
Okay. So, me watching season 1, and season 1 is the only season I've watched. So I guess I'm coming into this probably the most blind out of everyone because obviously you guys know events and characters that are going to happen that
Yeah.
that will be relevant towards later. But season 1 for me is all I know, and I gotta say from season 1, there's a lot of things that I really liked. And there's even some things that have to face criticism. Well, I'll go off on the praise things first. With season 1, I really do like the fact that different yokai are utilized and not just the previous yokai from the last episode. For example, I remember that in one, when they started off, they had to do this because they had to show off, how yokai works, its formula. So I remember when the Kappa Kappa yokai comes out, and when he comes out,
Wall Kappa.
there's a Wall Kappa, and Telltale forces everyone to like splat out their deepest, darkest secrets. The Wall Kappa secrets are so basic that no one cares.
Yeah.
I think all of his secret. But then after that, they stopped showing like, well, okay, so Nate just used this yokai last episode, so we're gonna no. They actually do this where they have him use different yokai based on the situations. And
Yes.
I gotta say, I hate to say it, but it's still the funniest, and I think they even reference it. Jibanyan is typically the most useless out of all of the yokai.
Yeah.
But the show actually makes fun of that, and I'm guessing Jibanyan probably has more of a purpose later on in the series. But as of right now, he's probably like the yokai that is used mostly for joke, mostly for laugh.
Well, yeah, and especially later on when you get deep into season 2 and into season 3.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff is just. I mean, you get the fangirl, the fanboy kind of gushing. Things like that, and it's some of it's just off the wall. You just got to experience it.
And that's another thing. Like in season 1, they didn't exactly explore much of Jibanyan except in that episode where we actually went to the past.
His introduction, in the final episode.
Yeah. So, but season 2 really kind of expands his character to new heights, and I think you're gonna have some fun with some episodes in particular that play around with some of the things that Jibanyan likes. And oh boy,
also I am waiting to see what they're going to do with the Nyakibi song.
With the panda, whatever his name was.
Noka Panda, yeah.
Yeah,
it's probably gonna be Panda Noko or something. I don't know. I don't know what the localized name is. They haven't said yet, because it's basically in Japanese. It's Tsuchinoko.
You better
Panda.
have Fifth Harmony actually do that song. Oh.
Right.
Actually, speaking of Fifth Harmony, did you actually see on the Yokai Watch Twitter they actually made fun of their new album art?
Yes,
Did you actually see that?
Yes, I actually got a chance to see that. I was surprised. I'm like, wow, what the? I'll probably post an image.
What a tie-in! It's like, maybe they're gonna do that. But I'm hoping that they translate the song. That'll be pretty cool.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, and then looking further into season 1, there's a lot of things I noticed that I really stopped to really like. Just for example, the fact that I stated earlier that there's a different breakaway in certain sketches that the formula for what we see in season 1 mostly is they deal with the yokai. That the yokai becomes like, I don't know, about 7 minutes of focus. And then after that's done, they deal with a small little in-between section, or they'll save that section for the end where Nate will deal with one situation. Then they cut to the next situation that he deals with. And then at the end of the episode, they deal with the tiny 5-minute segment of like Mangimon and Alcatraz, or Koma-san dealing with owning a conglomerate toy company where he starts from the bottom and then he becomes a freaking president
by doing nothing.
By doing absolutely nothing. And when I saw that, I think it wasn't until Koma-san started making it really high in the business that I knew this was going to be a really good series for me in general, just because I wanted to see the Komasan plot, or I wanted to see Mangy Munt's adventures in Alcatraz, or him. I think the earlier one where he was trying to get a job, but he got kicked out and he got sent to jail every time because he was creepy.
Yeah.
Some of them were like just unjustified reasons for him going to jail, but it was still a funny running joke nonetheless.
Of course.
And, yeah, and I do love the fact that they actually do a call out on Nate for summoning them. Because unlike Pokemon, and I guess we'll talk about this in the next topic, unlike Pokemon, some yokai hate being summoned.
Yes.
So I thought that was a really interesting concept. And then when we actually go into more of season 1, we actually see that there's some episodes where they do references to modern culture more so than like say other anime do. They do it to almost Gintama levels.
Yeah, Gintama is basically another anime that does like rip-offs or just spoofs and parodies other anime out there.
Also, to be fair, like Otsumatsu-san does the same thing.
Yeah. Now for the criticisms, because there are some. Season 1 goes without say that it's good, but it's not without its flaws. I do notice, and hopefully they fix this in the later seasons. You guys will know better than I do. I noticed that in season 1, there's a lot less focus on the other characters. I get that Nate and ideally is supposed to be the main character, which works. And that's another thing that's a perk about season 1 too. It works because Nate is basic. The show even points it out.
Average.
Even the first episode.
King of Futsu.
Yeah, like in the first episode, I think Katie is the one that's like, that stag beetle's a lot like you, Nate. It's a basic.
Average.
Yeah, Nate is definitely the most two-dimensional. Well, no, I'll say he's more dimensional than the other characters. But it's still, if you look at him from an anime perspective, from what you know about anime, Nate definitely comes off as the most average anime character you can think of.
Yes.
Like, the situations that Nate gets in are situations that any character his age can get in. Like, there's nothing that Nate's done that makes you go, oh, that was an exclusively Nate thing to do. Which works, actually, because it's a way to bounce off of his character and use it effectively with all the other characters. The problem with this being, though, is that a lot of the other characters come off as very basic. Bear is one character that comes to mind.
Yeah, I kind of didn't like how they handled in the dub Bear, and also I have said this also to David Steinberg that Eddie sounds a bit too old.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I mean it's fine. I mean it's fine the way he sounds, but that's just my opinion. Also, to key off of what you just said, in a way, the basicness or the averageness kind of then makes Nate kind of more relatable. In that respect, because he's like the every boy.
He's the everyman,
the everyman basically, and and that combined with like the yokai, and really you get in this whole plot device of yokai causing everyday problems. It kind of does spark like creativity and also kind of like a stronger connection.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel. You really feel the characters.
Right. And one thing I do like is that Nate isn't your typical goody two shoes anime child either. His basicness is what makes him coincidentally more three-dimensional, because if you reference him off Ash automatically, or Tyson from Digimon to a lower extent, you wind up with some very off the wall responses. For example, in a situation where you're supposed to do the right thing or have good morals or something Ash would do, or Tyson, Nate'll just do the opposite strictly for his selfish needs. Like, I remember there's one episode where Nate just wants to skip school. Like, he made the decision to skip school, which if this were Ash or Tyson or any of the other like children and main characters,
they're basically like hero. They're
supposed to be role models. Where Nate is probably the most relatable kid in that entire show, specifically because he's doing something that you yourself would think to do, even if it abandons morality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember one time, there's one where they have the ability to read, yokai has the ability to read your thoughts. Nate's defense for that is to just think up so many dirty thoughts that it messes with the yokai.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look, that is actually the last episode. That's actually episode 26. And the actual case is like, he just thinks about pulling his pants down and up and changing into shorts and changing into pants, and that's also to be fair, also just the kind of the animation quality, and also especially in that episode where you have like the kind of like the glare around him, like and the faces and everything like that. It's just more relatable. And actually, the video that I post on Twitter, which is the next episode, which starts season 2, you just see like Whisper thrusting at the yokai pad, and what the hell is that? It's like some of the most random stuff you were gonna see.
So yeah, it's just with the criticisms I had though. It's like, and like I said, they'll probably fix this later. Nate is the only one with a yokai watch, at least in this season. I'm sure later on the other characters may get one.
We're not going to see that. We're not going to see that until season.
Yeah, I remember what you told me. Yeah, well, I remember we had a random discussion about it, and you told me it won't be a while. But at first it worked because, it's like it's us getting comfortably seated into the world of yokai.
Correct.
But then after a while, you're just thinking, Nate's the only one with a yokai watch. This is it gets old pretty fast after that point.
To be fair, and not to really spoil anything, but in season 2 there is a lot of side stories, and that they did that specifically to kill time. So it's gonna be less of pretty much less of a focus on Nate and more of a focus on the side stories.
Yeah,
and the backstories as well. You get to see more backstories, like Whisper's backstory and everything. You're going to be seeing that, and that's when and the next Termiani stuff, and we're going to get to that later. But it's crazy. It's going to be a great season because they upped the quality of the comedy, like tenfold, starting with the second season. So we're gonna see that come to fruition once they air it.
Yeah, I also do want to mention that. While I'm trying to remember this off the top of my head, I don't think they really explore much of Nate's other friends in the series. Like, they do every now and then. Like, I know there is an episode that Yokai Watch posted on Twitter that showcases Nate and his friends going up against a strange-looking, Jibanyan lookalike. Draconyan? I don't know how you call it. The Yokai, what's his name again? The one that looks
Draconyan.
Like
Yeah, I think it's Draconyan. Yeah.
Okay.
Draconyan.
Yeah. So that yokai.
Oh, that's later on in the series, past season 1. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
that's gonna actually come up pretty soon. So we're gonna see that within the next few months.
So yeah, like in that format, they're going to kind of explore more of Nate's friends,
the characters,
but in that way where we're gonna be seeing the yokai be implemented into Nate's friends, like somebody will possess one, or it's similar stuff that we've seen within season 1. But I will say though, if there's anything season 2 did great, it's they explored, and TSS mentioned this before, they've explored a lot of the characters and the yokai.
That's good because, like I said, in season 1, that was my major criticism. Is like we know Bear and Eddie, but to me, I was like Bear, Eddie, and Katie are there only so that Nate's environment doesn't seem barren. Excuse the pun. I was just gonna say excuse. I was just gonna say excuse the pun. It's just because if you take away Bear, Eddie, and Katie, then Nate would be in a very empty environment to me.
Yes.
But at the exact same time, with them being there, it seems to me I don't know much about Eddie for real. The most I learned about Eddie was in the episodes where he got possessed to be a jackass because Riff Raff took him.
Yes.
And that's the most I know about him.
and actually they did edit that because in the foreign dubs, Eddie's actually, you see like the underwear there, but actually in the Japanese, actually bear behind.
Bear behind, really?
Oh God! Oh,
Oh my
Didn't
god.
catch myself
I
there.
think Yokai Watch's cheesy puns have run off on us.
Yeah,
I don't want to imagine
and it gets
after the
worse,
end of
dude.
season
It gets
2.
worse. It gets worse.
Season
Yeah,
2.
so yeah, I was just gonna say outside of that, there's not much we know about Eddie and Bear, so I'm glad the series is gonna compliment it on them. And with Katie has a specific link to character of interest because if I'm not mistaken, Katie is your female character if you play the video games.
Yeah, in the first two major games, correct.
Okay, so if that's the case, then that means that I was going into this expecting Katie to have much of a larger role, when in theory she's mostly just Nate's love interest. Yeah, Nate's love interest. So when I saw Katie in like the promotional art, as well as the ending credits theme, that little yokai, the little dance.
Yokai exercise, yeah.
Yeah, when they do that, I was expecting at least some episode where Katie meets up with a yokai physically to where she can see it. And
not to spoil anything, there is going to be one, but that's not coming until season 3.
Okay, I was just but I was I said, I was curious. So KG said, they will fix that problem, and like you said, they will fix character development. So I'm glad you guys were confirming that characters will be more fleshed out.
Yeah, actually,
they will definitely. Go ahead.
Go ahead, KG.
I was gonna say, I mentioned before that I didn't think they were gonna explore much of Nate's friends in season 2, but I take that back because I remember there was a couple of episodes that really do explore on Nate's friends, such as Eddie. It's gonna be in season 2, and it's involving his birthday, and you'll understand more of that as the time goes on. But I have to say, I believe they actually do flesh out Nate's friends as well. Not as much as what I would have hoped, but they do dive into it, and I think some of the things you get out of it, you'll definitely enjoy for what it is. So yeah, that's all I gotta say for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think we've done all we can with season 1. We've broken it apart to the point where if you haven't watched it, go watch it. If you have watched season 1, give it a rewatch and see if you notice some of the stuff that we pointed out.
And you know what that means? It's time for you to do a Netflix marathon if you haven't watched it yet.
Oh, it's on Netflix, huh? No,
yes, it is.
Yep,
that's cool.
It's available on Netflix.
Okay, that's cool. So, with that said, there's another show that's on Netflix. Well, some of those episodes, they're kind of wonky on the episodes, but it's a series that Yokai Watch constantly gets compared to, and that leads us to our next topic: Yokai versus Pokemon.
Yeah.
Yokai versus Pokemon versus Digimon versus any other monster collecting show. Even hell, if you really want to go to the bottom of the barrel, freaking Monster Rancher.
Yeah, Pocket Monsters, the Game Freak original.
Card games.
All right.
Yeah, so KG, we can start with you, and then TSS. I think it's safe to make you last. So, do you mind if I go in between KG, then to you?
Yes, go. Yeah, because my
you're gonna be the longest.
I can already feel it from like a mile.
Anybody else here?
Yeah, really.
I can feel the anger festering from TSS through my laptop, and it's overheating.
I'm gonna keep it short and simple then. So all I can say is, now first of all,
before you wait, I'm sorry, KJ. I just got to say this. I recommend before watching this video, watch John's video, then come back to our video.
Yes. Because you're going to look at it at a more I wouldn't say neutral perspective, but
you'll be you'll be in a more comfortable seat. Yeah, you'll be in a more comfortable seat. KG will be sliding in as a soft transition. I'll get harder, and the TSS you'll feel the burn.
Feel the burn. What?
Yeah. So go ahead, KG. The floor's on you.
Okay.
Timestamp that. Okay, go.
Okay. First of all, let's talk about the topic in hand. We're going to talk about Yokai Watch going up against Pokemon, the similarities, the differences, what makes each version its own. All I want to say to everybody who's watching this video, first of all, is it safe to say, can we just try to keep each series as its own respective thing? Because if we're going to keep pointing fingers and keep calling everything, oh, this is a ripoff of this or this is a ripoff of that, then every single game out there in existence is a ripoff of something else, and you might not know about it, but
Yeah,
you'll end up
Sonic's
learning.
a ripoff of Mario.
Exactly, but that's not the point of it all.
Call of Duty is Doom, all this other thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
To me personally, I think the best way to experience Yokai Watch is to not try to think of it as something else, but rather yet treat the series for what it is in its own right, and that is
Yes.
the comedy, the yokai, the Nate, and all the characters within the series. Think of it as its own respective thing, rather than trying to force it to be in connections with something it is not. Because if you keep doing that, you're only going to hurt yourself and your enjoyment of these type of shows. So that's all I want to say in regards to that. Like Yokai Watch, I have a lot of fun with, similar with Pokemon as well. But the reason I enjoy it a lot is because I don't just simply just put them neck to neck and be like, oh, well, this is, obviously like, oh, they clearly ripped off this Pokemon here for Yokai Watch. I don't understand why people are, like, no, none of that stuff, folks. I just want everybody to enjoy Yokai Watch for what it is and not for what it is being forced to be similar with, because that right. I don't like. So that's all I got to say in regards to that. Move to you, Tyrone. So your turn.
All right. So, I am one of the people that looked at Yokai Watch, and before I knew the concept, my brain did sort of hover in Pokemon space. And the reason of such being, now I'm used to this type of battle. Digimon did this battle already, so I was already like this. I went into this already kind of going, oh, here we go again, another Pokemon-esque series. But here's the thing though, I never really got into Digimon, to be perfectly honest. I know of it. I have various opinions of it. I already made a video about how I feel about Digimon as a whole. But when I went into Yokai, there was one thing that got to me about Yokai, at least when watching the series. I never got to play the video game until, like I said, later, and the video game is don't go into the video game thinking about Pokemon, because that won't do you any good. But one thing that really caught on to me, and we should have talked about this in the season 1 breakdown. When situations happen, for example, it's like you ever look into the drawer and it's like, why are my socks missing? How come every time I look into my drawer my socks are missing? And it'd be like, oh, it's a yokai that did it. The unexplainable phenomenons. That at that point, that was when I realized we are dealing with something that has originality. We are dealing with something that has its own feel, because yokai does a thing that I think a lot of the Japanese culture has been trying to throw in as explanations for why unexplainable things happen. It's like, hey, you wake up and for some reason you can't just get your hair to be at the right way it does. It always has this weird bed head or something like that. A yokai's messing with it. Or hey, you ever notice that every time you try to do a certain task, this unexplainable thing happens? A yokai did it, which makes sense. It makes sense. And the formula for how yokai got this made enough sense for me to go, okay, yokai has developed its own identity. Now, some of the yokai do have Pokemon-like qualities. For example, there's some yokai like Tail and Blazion who only say their name. But then there's other yokai like Riffraff and Mangy Mud who talk like regular Riffraff, sorry, who talk like regular people,
or like, well, street thug basically for rough.
Street thug, or they have their own thing. So there's some yokai that do that, and there's some that do that. And I think, and switching back and forth, I was confused because I was like, "What? This is very inconsistent. Why not kind of like Pokemon?" But then I thought about it. Well, some of them say complete sentences and talk like we do, which causes a lot of differentiation and definitely makes them a lot more dimensional, because we know which yokai are more intelligent than the others, which definitely expands them even more.
Right.
So at that point, when I looked at that, I thought to myself, yokai has gained its own personality. It's gained its own identity, if you will. And at that point, I no longer saw yokai in the eyes of someone who watches Pokemon constantly. Also considering the fact that what you have to do to obtain the yokai, you have to befriend them, not capture them. And even Jibanyan does a joke that I think was a call out to Pokemon. Nate has Jibanyan fight off I think it was Tattletale or one of the yokai. And immediately Jibanyan goes, "I'm not your freaking servant," and it starts reading the magazine. And I thought, okay, good job, yokai. You have differentiated yourself from Pokemon in one joke. So, for those of y'all, and I'm going to end it right here, and then TSS will, you guys will feel his wrath. I'm going to saying this to those who get into yokai right now. First of all, go into yokai with more of a relaxed nature, because yokai isn't Pokemon in the sense, not just because it's a whole different series. Yokai is different in the sense that it's chill. There's no evil team trying to take over the entire world. There may be a yokai that's a jackass every now and then, but there's no evil team trying to open a new world while capturing a legendary and destroying the very fabric of the Kalos region. There's no mega
evolutions. There's no
there's
gym
no
leaders.
Yeah, there's no gym leaders. There's no legendary that's gone berserk and is really ready to destroy the world.
Actually, that last statement is actually false.
Well, there's going to be occasions, but it's not like a continuing
plot device, right?
Yeah, it's not a continuing plot device. So go into yokai trying to have fun, because if anything, it helps you prepare for when serious moments actually do happen.
Right.
Go into yokai relaxed, because yokai isn't meant to keep you on edge. There isn't going to be these times where, oh snaps, Nate is in a giant tussle. What will he do? Find out next time on Go into it just relaxed, because that's what it is. That it's not meant to keep you on edge. It's not meant to be nail biting. At least not every episode.
Yeah,
it's meant to relax, and I definitely think that that's where Yokai Watch excels, because when I watch Yokai Watch, I never watch it going, oh snaps, I gotta catch up to the series. No, I went into watching it going, okay, I'm watching this episode, I'm having fun watching this episode. If I feel like it, I can catch up and marathon it, or I can watch one day at a time. So yeah, just chill when you watch Yokai, because that's what the type of show it is. TSS, they're all yours.
Oh boy, where to start? How much time do we have?
You have exactly
30 seconds. Let's go.
30 seconds. Okay, everybody. So, just as a preference, just a preface or something like that. Let me get my freaking words together, because it's almost midnight as we're recording this. I've been around the Pokemon community for almost 12 years. So, the people are saying to me that, oh, you're biased about yokai. Oh, you got this, you got that. It means nothing, because I have been a Pokemon fan. I've been watching, on and off, basically since it came out in like 1998. I remember the original games. I was 10 years old at the time, and that was like the perfect demographic for me. So I went into yokai. I did not think of it as Pokemon at all. Because as a matter of fact, because everybody knows, or most of the people that watch knows, how I felt like X and Y kind of dropped the ball. So I was looking for another series, and then Yokai Watch just dropped in my lap, and I was not thinking about Pokemon at all. I was just thinking, okay, I'm gonna watch this and I'm gonna see what's going on. And then when the concept finally hit me, and when I finally saw the structure of how these characters developed, and you have all the yokai, I thought it was like a perfect, refreshing sort of take. And to be honest, that's one of the reasons why I got excited for anime again, because I was kind of disappointed. I mean, even as a whole, the anime industry has not interested me. Probably, I would say the last good one was probably like Steins Gate. That was like an 2008. So pretty much I was out of the loop in anime in general. And then Yokai Watch just like completely got me back into, being excited about anime again. And but realistically, one of the criticisms I have to say about people is when they look at yokai, especially since I saw that E3 presentation of Yokai Watch 2, and even on Twitter, like I would see Nintendo post something about Yokai Watch, and then people will be crapping all over it. And it's like, oh, we don't want this game. Oh, we don't want this. Oh, it's a ripoff, all this stuff. Well, it's an RPG, okay? And it's by level 5. So you're saying that the same company that's made Professor Layton and Inazuma 11 are garbage. So you're talking about a company who knows how to make RPGs. And to say that it's a ripoff is like saying that, then what do people say about like Shin Megami Tensei or freaking Final Fantasy?
Right.
And hell, it's come to a point where we have yokai tie-ins with like Final Fantasy now with Square Enix. So yokai are going to be in freaking Final Fantasy 14, and then we're going to have freaking chocobos in Yokai Watch 3. So it's going to be amazing. But what people have to understand is they have to go into it not looking like a Pokemon clone. Some people say, oh, the battle system sucks, all this stuff. But it's like, you have to understand that, first of all, the wheel is only in the first 2 games. And I think that the kind of the rotation nature of the yokai, of the yokai battle, and the way that you have to build up the ultimate gauge and everything like that, it really becomes nerve-wracking. A real challenge like later in the game, when you have to go up against the boss yokai and everything like that. So in effect, it's actually more of a challenge because you have to go and you have to purify yokai, because otherwise you can't do this ultimate attacks, and you basically have to flip the wheel around, purify them, and pray to God that you're not going to get one-shotted from the boss. And then on top of that, you have to manage the healing items because you have to wait until the boss's turn ends to use healing items. So in that case, it's a lot more. It's a more active battle system, and it makes it a much different play experience. And same thing with the anime. The anime is not meant to be serious. It's meant to be chill, relaxed, and funny. So it's not even a valid comparison when people compare the games. And then some people were saying on the E3 video for Yokai Watch 2, the reveal, it's like, oh, look at that, they're having 2 versions of the game. It's like it's a Pokemon ripoff. It's like Pokemon Watch 2. Sit down. Because
Fire Emblem is a Pokemon ripoff.
And guess what? Zelda did it too. Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons. Yeah. Nobody complained about that. So it's not even a new concept. I just don't understand. It's just people that are hurt that there is something out there that can captivate people, and you know what? To be honest, and I'll be 100% honest, the people in the yokai community are better than the Pokemon community, in my opinion. There's a lot less disagreement. And
now, if you like both and you're watching this video, then that excludes you, obviously.
Obviously, yes, because I'm not hating against Pokemon fans. Listen, I've been here long enough, and I'm gonna stay here. But the thing is that I've seen just a lot of negativity against yokai. And remember, hey, it's like people saying, oh, QB is Renamon. Well, guess what? They're based off of the same yokai. And so is Ninetales. Ninetales is based off of the same yokai, too.
Yeah.
Because remember, yokai are several thousand years old. They're much older than what Pokemon is, okay? So Japanese mythology rules over everything. And then that's the whole thing. I mean, then you look at like Yokai Watch 3 with American yokai, right? You have basically, now we're talking about American folklore that they're making fun of now, and they're turning them into yokai. One of them is being the reindeer one, which is really funny. But and then you have other things. But basically, the Yokai Watch is basically you have a mixture of like folklore, and now this time, as I said, it started with Japanese folklore, and now it's going to American folklore, and now you have those two meshing together. And by the time Yokai Watch 3 comes out here, people are going to be amazed at the game because, well, they changed the battle system again. And like I said, it's really fun and engaging, and also the storyline in the games as well. It's really a really interesting experience. Some people don't like it, and guess what? Some people don't like the Pokemon games either. So you know what? I'm not going to crap all over you for that. But it's just that people that are not giving it a chance. Here's the thing: if you've given it a chance and you say that it sucks, fine, go ahead. At least you've tried. But the people that haven't even tried it and then want to say that it's a ripoff and everything like that and never gave it a chance, then go ahead. What is your problem? Just do it. Do it. Just do it.
And if you're gonna complain about it without even giving it a chance, what would be even the point of complaining about it? Why would you take the time out of your day to look at a series and then immediately judge it if you're not even gonna play it yourself? It's like you haven't even given Yokai Watch a chance yet. Right. That would be like, I would say, that would be like me going into Pokemon saying, oh well, there's no point in even watching this season of Pokemon because Ash is just gonna do the same thing he did in the other seasons. It's like, I haven't even watched season 1 yet, or that season yet, so I can't really say much about it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, my rant 30 is over. But I just want to say one thing, one closing thought before we move on. Please, at Yokai Watch 2 is the Yokai Watch 2 games are better because they have improved a lot of the quirks and the problems. Well, actually, I wouldn't say problems, but kind of the shortcomings of the first game. And then you will have more exclusivity. And plus, the first game didn't even have online battling and everything like that. The second game does. So, hey, give it a shot. And plus, they have their own kind of like what's funny is they actually do have their own battle royale too. So it's kind of funny. Well, it's just person on person, but it's 6 versus 6, and it kind of is similar to other things. But we're not going to get into that now. Wait until the game comes out, and then the anime will help you transition into the games. And like I said, I played like 8 hours. I'm up to about just before the point they got at the E3 demo, which is the time travel, which I think is a great idea. But it's a great game, and it's the second game is more engaging than the first game. And here's the other thing, and people will not mention this: you do not need to play the first game in order to play the second game. The two different versions for the second game at this point, you can just, because the beginning of the second game we have Nate in like an amnesia state. And you don't even need to do that. You don't even need to. They do a flashback to the first game, and that's it. So you don't even need to play the first game to try the second game out. It's nice to do it because then you'll be familiar with the battle system, but you do not need to play the first game to enjoy it.
I just hope people really do give it a shot before they begin to criticize the series that shouldn't be criticized if you've never given any thought or any moment of your time to just take a watch or play a little bit of it, just try watching a few episodes of season 1, and if you don't like it, as TSS mentioned, that's perfectly fine. Not everybody's gonna like everything in the world. That's how life is. But at least you watched it and you gave your fair share of criticism because of that. So, I'm not going to dislike you or something if you're not a fan of what I am, because
exactly
that's wrong. That's not right. I have to understand that people enjoy things that I enjoy and people dislike things that I might enjoy, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. That's how things work. So I just want that to be something that everybody remembers. Not everybody's going to have the same opinion in regards to liking or disliking things. Perfect example, Poplio. That there's something for everyone, and I hope that Yokai Watch could be that series that could be fun for those who just give it a shot. It's not going to be for everyone because it's not meant for everyone, but if you enjoy it and you get yourself hooked, then good for you.
Welcome to the team.
Yeah, Team Yokai. Team Yokai and Team Pokemon. Team Unity right here. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about this, and I cannot wait to, see where this will all go for the future of Yokai Watch, because I'm still surprised till this day that we actually managed to get Yokai Watch here in the US in dub format for games and anime and anything else with the merchandise and whatnot. The merchandise is really awesome, by the way. I
love the figures. The medals, when Yokai Watch versions, the Type 0 comes out here, I like the newer you get more diverse metals. And actually, I wonder, I'm gonna probably try like maybe when the Type 0 comes out. I think it comes out in like September or something. Or they said in the fall.
Yeah.
I want to see what happens. I'm probably gonna get some more medals from my Japanese friends. So gotta see if they actually work. That would actually be funny if they would actually work, but I doubt it. They probably have a different groove system or whatever. But we'll see what happens.
Okay, so I guess we're going to have to go and conclude this discussion on our own, TSS. Hey, look, Evie's here in the sideline. So, Evie, you're going to be the Tyrone replacement for this segment, okay? So
he's been, listening for, the last hour.
Yeah, he said he was going to be in the call, so he's just been here listening to what we've been saying, and, yeah.
Well, I'll give it my best.
Okay, then. So, Evie, final thoughts on Yokai Watch?
Team Yokai rules.
Alrighty, then. TSS, final thoughts?
How should I phrase this? Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs, hype man.
And like I said, season 2 is going to be fantastic, and props go out to Level 5 for creating this great game. Also for the soundtrack. The soundtrack for the first and the second games are available now. I mean, you can buy the Japanese CDs and whatnot. Some of the best music we'll ever hear, and plus, like I said, it's in the anime, straight verbatim. So if you want real music to tap your feet by, especially for Halloween, it's gonna be like one of the top Halloween soundtracks. Yeah, definitely give those songs a shot, as well as look forward to the games. The games are coming out in September. And I'm going to be online at Nintendo New York for it.
Invite me for that one. I need to go to that event.
Yeah, September 30th. Actually, let's see what date that is. That is on a Friday, so that's going to be great.
With that being said, to everybody in the comment section down below, we would love to hear your opinions on what you thought of Yokai Watch. If you've watched the anime season dub, let us know in the comments down below what you thought of it, if you enjoyed, dislike it, or just anything else in particular. And as well as, are you excited for the upcoming Yokai stuff that is going to be happening later this year with season 2, the new merchandise, the new games? It's a dual set release.
And also, by the way, we have to mention the names of the we have to mention the name of the games. It's now in the Japanese version, it's called Ganso and Honke, which basically have to deal with different kinds of Japanese pastries, which, by the way, they're calling donuts, which actually is better than calling onigiri donuts. But the American
hamburgers, right?
Oh God! And so the English names are officially Bony Spirits and Fleshy Souls.
I wonder if they're gonna release the third version.
Yeah, Shinuichi, which I don't know. I mean, they're probably gonna give it like 7 or 8 months, or maybe they're not going to release it at all. But I think they are. Or maybe they're going to. I was hoping maybe they would consolidate some of the stuff from the third game into that, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like it's just a verbatim copy.
I initially thought that for the U.S. area, we would have gotten the third version as the full game experience, and I honestly wouldn't be mad at that at all. I think it's the full experience in my opinion. So I'm curious where they're going to go and take this for the future. Quick question though: Bony Spirits or Fleshy Souls? Which version are you getting?
Probably Fleshy Souls, because I think Bony Spirits is going to be gone. So I want to have the opposite version when I play. But then again, though, there's better yokai in the other ones. So it's like, I got to see which version corresponds to which version in Japanese. And then I'm going to just decide. Yeah.
The only reason I'm going to go get Fleshy Souls is because I see QB in the box right there already. It just tells me to purchase this version. But yeah, folks. So, like I've mentioned before, let us know in the comments down below what you think of Yokai Watch as a whole, your opinions on what you thought of Yokai Watch, the anime season, the games, or anything in particular in the comments down below. We would love to hear what you guys got to say in regards to that. So, yeah, Tyrone, I guess this is where you go and end things off for this discussion.
All right, then. Well, thank you for covering for me, Evie, by the way. So that was a surprise. And also, so just long story short, what TSS said pretty much sums up like a large segment of what I was going to say. about yokai in general. But yokai has definitely has made an impact. It's made an impact on me. I'm sure it's made an impact on you guys, the fans who are watching this video. It's made an impact on KG, TSS, and Eevee. So, yeah, yokai, keep doing your thing. It's very fun. I love how these characters are. I never thought that a spirit of a dog from a country and his misadventures doing absolutely nothing but getting somewhere in life would be one of my favorite things to watch on television. So yeah, that's just a show of how much I like yokai as a series. Now, the video games, I may try to gradually get into them again, but the series itself has done enough to make me a fan. So with that said, if you all want more content, check out KG's channel, go to TSS's Twitter, or go to Eevee's Twitter, or check out my channel, and see you all in the next video that we make, and have a great day.
Bye bye.